Welcome to the Let's Talk About It podcast with your host, Denise. Denise can be found on iamdenise.com and all social media platforms. On Let's Talk About It, we dive into the path along the journey while celebrating the human spirit, resilience, and ability to grow beyond limitations. Are you ready? Okay, then let's talk about it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It podcast. I'm your host, Denise, and my guest today is, oh my gosh, you're going to love her because she is so bubbly and so excited. She's like coffee. I can't drink coffee because coffee puts me to sleep, but she's like human coffee. And she is exciting and she's excited because she helps people find their passion in life. And if you want somebody to help you find your passion, they pretty much have to be passionate, because if they're not, they're probably not going to help you find it. So welcome, Miss Jacquelyn Vasquez. Hey!
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
You're welcome. I love talking to you because I think I'm like a little bit monotone, and sometimes when I'm in my coach hat, I'm not very animated. But when I talk to you, I literally feel myself being animated. I'm like, she's animating me. No, make it stop.
That's so funny. I love the fact that you say that because I would have never known you're not animated. You're so fun to me.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes I'm not, but thank you. So let's jump right into you. Let's start by telling us a little bit about your journey, right? What you've been through and how you arrived to this place where you are now, where you are literally spreading joy to the world. I think that's your official title.
I love that title.
Tell us about you. Tell us about Jacquelyn.
Yes. So my name is Jacquelyn Vasquez, and I am a soul-aligned success coach. And really, what brought me to this point, honey, let me tell you. So, my family, my mother has started working at Social Security. So she's worked at Social Security for 42 years. She talked, yes. And so she talked literally all of us into working there. My little sister worked at Social Security. My older sister works at Social Security. And I was working at Social Security. And so it just got to a point where I'm like, this is like a generational thing. And you see it a lot in a lot of companies where the family goes into what the family was doing before. But
let me ask you something. Let me ask you something on that, because in our education and in our culture, we are taught, I would say we are programmed to just grow up, find a job, find you a good job, and then never leave.
Yes.
Never leave, never quit, never resign, get you a good 30, 40 years, and then you're going to be good, right?
Exactly.
And that seemed to have been the trajectory that you and your sisters and pretty much your whole family, they should send you guys a check,
Right. Because we've been hiring family, right?
Right. But do you find that happens a lot with people? And is that based on kind of like the fear of not having security, which we've been denied, social injustice, racial injustice, all of that?
Exactly.
Do you feel like that comes from that?
Absolutely. I 100% believe that it comes from that. And it comes from the fact that, like you said, social injustice. My mom grew up in the 50s. And so for her to get a job, a good government job, you said a good government job, that right there, that's it.
The height of success.
That's the height of success. That is the height of success.
Yes.
Honey, you done made it.
In the East Side, moving on up, Jefferson.
Moving on up.
Living
right,
it. Yes.
right.
Yes.
And then needless to say, they were successful. Her and my father, both in good jobs, and they were successful, both retired after 35, 39 plus years.
Do you think she was happy with that? Do you think she was happy with that?
My mom absolutely positively loved her job.
Okay. What made you, because I heard Oprah say this is like one of my favorite statements of all time. She says that I think her grandmother was like washing clothes and putting it on the line. And she was like, one of these days, you're going to get you a job with a good white person. You can hang up the clothes. And she said, and I quote, not me. So what was your not me moment why you changed the course and took a different path than your mom did?
So my not me moment is really been this whole time I've worked there. My personality my personality has always been bigger than the cubicle I worked within. I would get in trouble for talking. I would get in trouble for making people laugh. Like it was crazy. And it was like, why am I here? And after you've been told that so many times, like so many times, you get to the point where you're like, you know what? Maybe I should start listening.
You
Because
ask yourself that, why am I here? Right?
why
The
am
universe is asking you, your coworker is asking, they're emailing you and asking you this. But if you're not asking yourself that question, if you're not asking yourself, why am I here? What am I doing here? Am I where I want to be? Am I where I need to be?
Yes, exactly. And then over time, you know, so what ended up happening, the pandemic, we all got sent home. Now I'm at home. And the only reason I would go to work was for my coworkers. I loved my coworkers. I'm a social person. We would have a good time at lunch. We would take walks together. They were what I went for. You know, the TV shows I watched aligned with their TV shows. I mean, I went to work for them, right? And so when I got home, it was like, who
What?
am I supposed to hang out with?
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I just
Yeah.
was left with me.
Let me ask you, do you feel like sometimes people stay in jobs because, in fact, the job becomes their pseudo family? And a lot of times people will stay with a job. You know, we talked about the first layer, which is the security, but
Yep.
another layer, which is just as important, is that pseudo family.
And it's, I'm not going to leave them. If I leave this boss, I'm walking away from them. I'm walking away from that person. And truly you're not. You know, I've seen so many people. So this was a hitter for me in December 2019, no, 2020, no, 2019. Jesus, my years are off. 2019. Okay, because we had a whole year at home.
We did.
2019, my coworker right next to me died at work.
No.
Died at work, honey. And then the
What?
pandemic hit. And it just was like,
Okay, wait, Jacqueline, hold on a second. I'm sorry. Hold. You just kind of went over that real fast. So let's just back it up a little bit.
yeah.
So are you already in a headspace where you are having second thoughts about your life and where you are in career? Are you already in that space, right?
I was already in that space.
Okay.
Yes.
And then your coworker dies. Is it from like a medical situation or at the job? You say
at work.
At work.
Had a heart attack at work. And so, mind you, Eric was only a couple years older than me, and he was somebody that I would, I worked alongside, and he would work overtime.
This is a part of your pseudo family.
Yes.
Yeah.
So every overtime he was there, every extra anything he was there, he was there before I got there at work, and then would leave after me after I left. So
what did his death shout to you that you had not listened to before? Because we hear it, we hear the little inner voice and we kind of like, yeah, I hear it. So what did his death say to you that you could no longer bypass?
It's time to live your life, girl.
Ooh.
Time.
Chills.
And at that moment, it was like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, it's time. But like, wait, what do you mean? What am I supposed to do?
Where do you start?
Right. And so we're at home in the pandemic, and I was crying like every day because I was so miserable. And so I started, I too wrote a book. So I wrote a book, and I started listening to what my advice was in the book. I started doing
tell us a little about the book.
So the book is called Stand in Your Light, The Secret to Love, Happiness, and Joy. And in the book, I basically go over how to love yourself, how to fall in love with yourself. A lot of us are like, well, I love myself. But really,
do we though? Do we
though? You know what I mean? And so in the book, I lay out the pretty much how to do it, how to start with that first look in the mirror, that, hey girl, hey, gorgeous, how you doing, beautiful? And
Mm.
before you know it, you're in the mirror talking to yourself. You're
It
affirming
becomes habit,
him,
right?
right?
Let me
It
ask
starts.
you, transparently speaking,
Mhm.
because one of the things that people say to me all the time is, oh, you have it all together. And I'm like, what are you looking at? Like, who is this person that has it all together? Can you give me her number? Because I don't even know her. You know what I mean? Like, what? I don't know her. Every day it's still a struggle. Like, I have these conversations with my boyfriend. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know how you do it, bro. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. Has there always been this awareness of self-love that you had, or did you have to go get it, or did you have to, like, pull it from deep, deep within?
Mhm.
How was your experience been in terms of your own self-love?
Yes. So I'm going to tell you, we all start out as loving beings. We all start out loving ourselves. It's not
Mm-hmm.
until we're broken down by the world that we lose that sense of self love. And so
Mm,
for me, it was about getting back to that girl. And
mm,
you don't typically get back to that young lady who was so like full of life until you kind of hit rock bottom. And so
mm,
I had a rock bottom moment. I hit rock bottom. I was with a man who was doing me terrible, right?
mm-hmm.
And so when I hit rock bottom and he kept always wanting to fix me. And so I finally just looked at, asked him one day, "What can I ask you? What's wrong with just me? Why
As
can't
I
I
am,
just be
right?
me as
As
I
I
am?"
am. Mm-hmm.
And so that was the moment for me. And I started dancing in the mirror. And then I started dancing in the mirror naked. Now it sounds crazy,
No, it doesn't.
but it's
Mm-mm.
liberating.
You're talking
Yeah.
about every morning at 8:30 for me. You just said my 8:30. You're at my house. What time is your schedule? Because maybe,
What time is it?
I'm that it's 8:30 for me. Yes,
But yes, but
yes.
dancing in the mirror and seeing your body move and falling in love with yourself.
And
You are
connecting to
fabulous
it,
and connecting to it.
because we spend so much time literally driving our body like it's a car or it's an avatar. Like, here's the foot, it's going to work. Here's the butt, it's going in the car. Here's the arm, it's hugging the child. You know what I mean?
But yes,
We're not really connected to
right,
ourselves.
right.
So it sounds to me like you felt the disconnection from such a deep place that you
Yeah.
had to summon the spirit,
Bring her
right?
back. Yes.
To bring that back together.
Yes.
And how did that feel? Like, I mean,
Oh,
that must have been a very empowering, emotional, like
girl.
vulnerable. Like, how was that?
Yes. I can still go back to that moment and feel it. Like I
Mm,
literally feel her often and I am inspired by her. And so that's what I was
mhm.
saying during COVID. It all hit and I'm back to being sad again. I said, baby. And I went back to that girl. I started affirming my greatness. And I was even saying earlier today on a live, I put I am Oprah and I am Lisa Nichols in my affirmation. Why?
Mm,
I don't know
mhm,
why.
mhm, mhm,
I ended up now I am a life coach, right? A soul aligned success life coach, but I'm also a motivational speaker. And
mhm.
so with me being a motivational speaker, it has me, I aspire to be like Lisa Nichols. And so I find myself talking more, getting involved more, trying to be on podcasts, trying to go live, right? It inspires me to get into action to be like Lisa Nichols. I am Oprah. My I am Oprah comes from I want to be, like you said earlier, I want to spread joy. I want to spread all the joy I can. And I feel like that's what we think when we think Oprah, because we think you get a car, you
You
get
get
a
a car.
car,
You get a
you
car.
get a car.
Everybody gets a car. Except your version's gonna be, you get reminded of your sense of self. You get reminded of your beauty. You get reminded that you are great, right? Better than a car. Better
Exactly.
than a car.
You
Better
get
than a car.
confidence. Yes. And so
That you
that's
get to dance naked in the mirror.
yes.
8:30. We should start a group.
We
Naked dancing,
should.
8:30 in the
Naked
morning. No
dancing.
Zoom allowed. We're just gonna all be 8:30 naked.
Naked
You can join
dancing
my
in the
schedule.
mirror.
You can join my, and when I miss the morning, I do it at night because sometimes,
Yes.
yes, yes. Now, soul alliance, those two words just sound so beautiful, sounds so enmeshed, and sounds like something that we should all help each other to do and all strive to do within ourselves. So
Yeah.
how did you get into this niche space of soul alliance, and tell me, what is soul alliance in? Tell
Yes.
me about that.
I love it. So, how did I get into this space? Amazing question. I am a certified Yes Supply practitioner. And so
Hmm.
that means that I do NLP, neuro linguistic programming,
Mm-hmm.
hypnotherapy, EFT, emotional freedom technique, and I do time technique where we go back into your past and we go over everything and bring you to the future and actually bring you out into your future based upon what you want to do. And
Wait,
so
past as in this lifetime past, or past
it
life
could be this
regressions?
lifetime, it could be past lifetime. It's actually your timeline. So
Okay,
when you
see,
close
I
your
know the
eyes,
language, girl.
yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Haven't done one, but I am like so curious, so
Man, and
curious.
so when I did time technique, I was
Mm.
blown away. Like at the end of it, tears were literally just streaming
But
down my
how
face.
did you get into that? Like, when I look at you, I just kind of like get the impression like you grew up with like your personal seat in the church somewhere, right? Like this is Jacqueline's seat, right? Yeah. So, and like that energy just kind of comes off of you. And
Yes,
so to go in this kind of existential, which I love,
yes,
I love that. What got you into that? Because it's so, it feeds so into your career path and your
yes,
purpose work and your destiny. But
yes.
how did you go from traditional, and we can have a whole other show about that, which I might
Probably,
invite you to
girl.
talk about that. But
Right.
how did you transition from kind of like religious dogma, conceptualization of right, wrong, heaven, hell, good, bad, and just the limited scope of what you grew up being exposed to? How
Yes,
did you even become aware of all this kind of existential mind body, experience?
yes. So I'm a psych major. And
Mm,
so, definitely learning about all of the psychology, just the psychology of us all, going back to Eric Erickson. And when you think of Ivan Pavlov, you know what I mean? Like there's
mm-hmm,
so many things that experiments that they did, or even how we dissect dreams, right? Sigmund Freud,
mm-hmm,
right? So when you
mm-hmm.
think of all of these different dogmas, it opens up so much more to your mind because yes, God said, but then you also have, the Jewish tradition believes one thing, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This Islamic tradition believes another. I mean, Islamic religion believes another.
The
So
Bhagavad
everybody has,
Gita beliefs,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So
So you
everybody,
always knew, but it's like there's
yeah,
something in you, because I don't know if that can be injected. I feel like there's always a budding curiosity that's there.
yeah,
And when you start, because that happened with me, something connect with
mhm,
what I've always already kind of, but you don't trust your own knowing, right? Because
exactly.
that's one of the things that these dogmas do. It makes you question your own, kind of Taltic wisdom, right?
Right,
And
right.
so it just sounds like everything was kind of lining up in terms of where you were and what you were going
Exactly.
through, and you were asking these questions.
A lot
And
of questions.
so, yes. And so the more you learned, the more you absorbed, and the
Yeah,
more it naturally became a part of you. And
yeah.
now you are sharing that with others.
Yes. And even when I come and anything, any talk I give, any speech I give, it's very whatever you believe, whether it be the universe, whether it be Allah, whether it be God, whether it be Buddha, I respect them all. I
Mm-hmm,
respect them all. I love them all because really at the end of the day, what it comes down to, what they all preach, gratitude,
mm-hmm,
love,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
respect for one another. I
mm-hmm.
mean, they're all saying the same thing,
Right.
you know? And then when you put a little psychology in it, now we're getting into understanding. And
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
whole nother level
And now the
of
science is
loving on
catching up with
someone. That's
collective
right.
consciousness. And it's like, oh, by the way,
Exactly.
it turns out you can think
Exactly.
something and it actualizes,
And it actualizes
yeah, yeah.
what you think turns into things, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
girl, don't let me get into all the books I done read. Stephen Covey, girl. Don't get me Sean, what is it? Rhonda Byram with The Secret. Girl, these are my babes. And I listen to them often.
Mm-hmm.
Often. And if you really implement, like I do journaling now, and when I journal, I'll write down my best outcome for the day. I'm noticing 5 out of 10 of them come true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because, I strongly believe that we are all a part of a collective consciousness. And a part of the trick, that the spell that we're under, is really identifying ourselves as separate, right?
Hey, girl.
And I think it's spirit work and it's healing work when you help people in coming back to that oneness, first starting with self. Because if you are not one with yourself, really, how can you be, one with anything? You're not one with yourself. You're, kicking the dog.
Yep.
You're
Yep.
angry. You
Yep.
have very little gratitude, very little patience, very little kindness, very little forgiveness. And that's because you lack those things with yourself. And how has your personal experience and your personal journey impacted, contributed, affected your current joy spreading, giving occupation that you have?
I mean, okay, so honestly, everywhere I've ever been, I've always been the happy person in the room. People have
But were
always
you always, have you always been the happy person in the room, or did you always appear to be the happy person in the room? Because
Ooh,
sometimes I find the people who externalize as the happiest
yeah.
are usually, not usually, I don't like using general words, but are sometimes sad, and they're literally fighting to keep afloat, just to keep
Yeah.
their head above water. And this is the way in which they do it. So have you always, because now it seems to me like you're now connecting what was externally
Yes.
demonstrated with what
I
was
am.
internal. And it
I
it
am.
feels like there was a time when those two things did
We're
not connect.
disconnected. Girl, you better say, yes, they were disconnected. Yes, they were. Oh, man.
Mm,
I'm sitting here tripping like, she telling me about myself. Is she right? Yes. So yes, there was
mm,
a time. There was
mm,
definitely a time where there was a huge disconnect. And that's why I wrote my book, Stand in Your Light, because that's what it's about.
mm.
In
Because
your
you're in the darkness when you're disconnected. Woo! Woo!
But the moment you
Yes.
start standing in your light and start saying, because I was in a lot of debt, girl. I was in a lot of debt. And that's what was, it was hindering me. And so I stood in my light and I finally started telling people, look, my finances are jacked up. Right. And
Mm,
my first person I told was my parents. And the moment I told them, the moment they reached out and helped, the moment they held their hand out to me, here, come, we got your back. My husband and I have been able to pay off all of our debt. We're saving money to buy a home now. And
mm,
so it's just like when I stood in my light, when I finally told my truth and
mhm,
stopped running around here with my truth burdening me, making me feel like I was this terrible person. But if I reach out and let people know, people can help me, they can love on me, they can guide me through. And man, standing in my light has been nothing but powerful. And you're right, the alignment
mm,
is real. Now I feel
mm.
outside what I feel inside.
Yes, 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 yes. I love that. You know how, and I don't know if this has happened to you yet, and if it hasn't, it will. When you're in the coaching space, you will have this experience, if you haven't already, where the client that is in front of you is you,
Oh,
right?
girl, yes, yes.
Right. You're
My client
seeing,
right now.
okay, you're seeing it. Like you see it. You literally feel like, okay. And in counseling, we have something which is called projection, which is like, what's happening
Yes.
with you, you kind of project onto the
Checking onto
client.
others.
And so that's something different. But when you
Yes.
see someone, when a Jacquelyn before the connection comes to you and she's sitting in front of you and
Yes.
she has the external, kind of um the external indicators of joy,
Yes.
but you see it,
Yes.
like you see it, you smell it, you know. but you don't know this person, and you can't just go in like that to be like, girl, listen,
No.
it's just me and you. Take it off, put it down. Here's a napkin. Go ahead. You got a whole box. Cry if you need to, because I see you, right? Have you had that? You say you have a client right now that's
Yes.
How has that been? Because that too, it's a little bit of a trip, because it reminds you where you were, where you've been, where you've come from, where you are. Like, so how is that? Like, let me be a fly on the wall in that situation.
She's outstanding. So my client, she literally came to me and was like, I feel like everything you're saying, you're talking to me. And I was like, oh, okay, sure.
Mm-hmm.
And our personalities are like pretty much completely aligned. She is a version of me.
Mm-hmm.
And watching her has been, at first she was all over the place, and I'm just like, okay, and I'm listening to her and she's telling me all the things she's doing. She's up late at night, looking up real estate, and then looking up something with hair, and then like she's in like 1,000 different industries, and I'm looking at her like, I have been there. I
Mm-hmm.
like, I was up. I've dibbled and dabbled in like 1,000 different jobs and 1,000 different, like I've done so much trying to get out of my current, like my job,
What was the
right?
core? What was the core driver when you were in that position? Why was that? Like, what was the core reason for you being so
All over the
expansive?
place. Yes.
Yes. Putting it
I
nicely.
I wanted something so bad, and I didn't know what it was. And I didn't know
Ooh,
what my
you
passion
wanted.
was. And
Mm,
I needed something. I needed to know something was gonna get me out of my current position.
mm. Wow. How frustrating is that to want something so bad and you can't even give it a name, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
what is the it, right?
Right.
And a lot of times when clients, come to me, they're like, it and that, and I'm like, give it a name. I
Give
have
it
a
a name.
thing. Give it a
What's
name.
the it?
Give it a name. What's the it?
And
So
so that,
you
yes,
help people find their it.
I help people find their it. And the
Mm,
moment they find it, honey, I'm telling you, my client is surpassing me. She's
mm,
surpassing me because she
mm,
found it. And the thing about it is, I spun a lot of wheels trying to figure out how to find it, trying to figure out what to do with it once I found it. And honestly, now that I know the program, now that I have the steps, as soon as I tell people, they're soaring, they're gone,
mm,
they take off,
mm. Okay.
because
So
that's all we need.
what's a session? What are your services like? Tell me a little bit about that. If somebody's listening right now and they're like, I need some of that. I need some of the Jacquelyn stuff, because I
Yes,
kind of deal with see, I'll send them to you once it's the let me find my passion thing. We kind of look at the what's blocking you from not seeing the passion. And then
yes,
when they deal with those issues, because a lot of times people try to discover passion so they can find a new place to hide,
yes,
right? And
yes.
so with the work that I do, we're
Gotta
making
heal
sure that
yourself.
we kind of go through that to give you a clearing so you can now go and find that, right? Discover that.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about your business and what you do and how your services work and all of that good stuff.
Yes. So I'm 100% with you, Diva. You got to heal your mess first. You got to heal your mess before you can move forward with anything. So, yes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
1000%. And then once you get to me, we get on a phone call. And it
Mm-hmm.
literally, within the first 10 minutes, I'm pretty much able to figure out what your passion is within the next first 10 to 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Then once I'm like, okay, is this it? Most of the time, people are like, I never thought about that as something. And the
Mm-hmm.
moment we say that, it's okay. So now what do you want to do? How can we implement this into your life and make it something you do regularly?
Mm-hmm.
And we make a plan. What's your achievable goal? What are we trying to get to, make this a reality, make this something that you incorporate in your life regularly?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, we're seeking happiness. And if we're on this pursuit to our happiness, the only way to get there is to be doing the things that we love.
Let
Period.
me ask you, because I think so much emphasis, and I want to kind of just dig into this a little bit. So much emphasis is sometimes spent on happiness being something outside of us, right? And
True.
so people keep thinking, well, if I just do this, or if I just do that, or if I get the right car, if I get the right dude, if I move to the right state, oh, it's booming in California, I need to move to California. And they see that as an external thing that they're like
Yes.
chasing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the framework of the conversations you have with people in terms of those who come to you feeling like happiness is a thing they don't have, and you can help them to find that?
Oh, yeah. So no, happiness is not something you
Like, oh
find.
no.
It's not once I have this thing, I have found my happiness. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
call it pursuit to happiness, because you're pursuing your happiness daily. And happiness can be found in just being thankful. Happiness can be found in being thankful for everything that you have around you, being thankful for the air that you're breathing, being thankful that your body's moving. Your happiness is within you. You are happiness. You are love. You are light. And so when you start to, that's why I say pursue. When you start to pursue it, you're pursuing it daily, because really doing the things that you love. And when you're doing something that you love, where I come from with that, we get into a place of service.
Mm.
When you're doing something you love, that's a part of figuring out your passion, because it's your
Mm-hmm.
purpose. You come from
Mm.
a place of service, because look at you here, love. You're serving a purpose. When you post your podcast, it's a purpose. Anytime
Yes.
that you're doing anything and that you're loving on others to help them, find heal, find something that makes them feel special, right? Inside. What you're doing is you're serving them. And this service is what makes you happy. I can see it lights you up. I can see you enjoy talking about this. Your questions have been thought about. They are detailed and amazing, right? And so that's the thing. Like, this pursuit is inside, because we
Mm.
want to be happy. Who wants to walk around this life being sad daily? You know,
Some
and it's
people do. I have to tell
true.
you,
Oh, go
some
ahead,
people
girl.
love that narrative. Woe
That's
is
true.
me. You know,
They-
some people like that. So yeah, that
That's
that
true. I
yeah.
can say who does, but there are people who do. But at the end of the day, that person is getting something in return for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Somebody is doing something to them
Mm-hmm.
that makes them feel good inside, and that's why they're behaving like that.
Absolutely. It's validating that narrative that they have, and they like that. They
And they
they want
like
to
that.
play that role. Yeah.
They want to play that role,
Absolutely. Yeah,
because the woe is
absolutely.
me may come with, oh, baby, what's wrong? Right?
Attention, getting
Attention,
stuff,
right? And so
validation, sympathy.
they're
Absolutely.
they're looking for that inner happiness themselves too,
Mm-hmm.
even still.
That's just, it's a different road. They
Just
have to take
different.
a different highway. They
Right.
take a different highway,
Not a
they take a
highway I
different
want to be on. But I'll
and
take
we all go through different paths, because I
yes.
think sometimes you have to kind of go through that to get sick of feeling sorry for yourself,
Yes.
right? Because I think if you don't go through that, it becomes a part of the rationalization and a part of the justification and a part of the tricking yourself to think,
Yes.
well, I mean, I have this story. Like, I have friends who I've known for I just did a podcast the other day, and it was, very revealing. And somebody sent me a message saying, oh my gosh, like, I've known you like over 30 years and I had no idea, like, you came out of this, like, this happened to you. Because I don't wear that, because I
Yes.
don't believe that who I grew up to be has to demonstrate like indicators, like some, when they say you must have dropped on your head when you were a baby, because it's evident. You know what I mean? Like, I never wanted to be the person that's like, you must have had a messed up childhood because
Right,
something's
right,
going on.
right,
Like, it's
right,
so
right.
evident. And there's nothing, if that's what you're going through and that's your experience. But I've always been very conscious about not wanting my pain to be so externally obvious. But in doing so, I created some unhealthy ways to not let that happen. And perhaps if I did kind of let it all, hang, then, I would have ended up on a different path. So there are
Right.
definitely different ways to kind of get to where you're trying to get to. And I think what you do is a really important part. We talked about this earlier. I do not believe in substituting life coaching for therapy. And
No.
one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on as a guest is because when we spoke off air, you were very adamant that the therapeutic part of the process is completely separate. And if
Yeah.
those issues aren't treated or addressed, you
Exactly.
don't believe in, just kind of putting a band-aid over a massive, gunshot wound. And I,
Oh,
I love the fact that you understand and respect and operate within that distinction, because the work that you do in the space that you do it, I mean, it's so beneficial,
yeah.
because people can be all over the space, and you're so multifaceted, honey. You want to go this life, past life, future life, where you want to start from, like the Buddhist master says, enter Zen from there. Miss
Yeah,
Jacquelyn is like, let's start with wherever you are
that's
and
right.
let's see where we're gonna end up. So, oh my goodness, we could just keep talking and just keep
We
going, going,
can.
going. I'm definitely going to invite you back, because I want to
Oh,
talk. Yeah, I want to have an episode with you really dedicated to past life regression. Like I want to talk to you
yes.
about
Oh,
that, and
yeah,
and
I
and
do
so
that.
I'm going to invite you back in the future. But
Yeah.
for the purpose of this visit, please tell our listening audience about your book, your
Yeah.
website, where you can be found on social media platforms,
Yeah.
and if they're interested in booking sessions with you directly, how do they go about doing so?
Oh, absolutely. This is fabulous. First, I do want to say, my love, you said something and I can't just shy on over it. I just want to tell you, your message. And so everything that you went through is in order for you to share that message with others. And so
Mm,
that person you impacted, I mean, may not have realized it, but you probably impacted them in such a deep way. That's why they reached out and said something to you.
mm,
And
mm.
you're not
Thank
wearing
you.
it is fine. I mean, it's totally fine. You ain't got to wear it, honey, but as long as you healed from it, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
otherwise we're just, like you said,
In
putting a
denial.
band-aid over something, or we're throwing
Gunshot
ice
wound.
in, right? Or we're throwing icing on a burnt cake. I ain't eating that cake. Okay. I want to eat my cake. I want to have my everything and have my cake too. I want to do that, but I'm not eating no burnt cake. So I need
Icing on a burnt cake.
icing on a burnt cake. I don't want it. Could you imagine them passing that out at a party? Ain't nobody gonna want it, or it's gonna be in the garbage. But anyway,
Hmm. Hmm.
but anyway, you can definitely
Yes.
find my book, Stand in Your Light: The Secret to Love, Happiness, and Joy. It's on Amazon.
Hmm.
Type it on Amazon, type my name, Jacquelyn McDaniel Vasquez. You will find it. It will come up. It's on audio too. So it's an Audible book too. And so if you think I'm fun here, listen to me on Audible. It's an audio book too. It's a
Gotta
ebook and
get
it's a
that.
regular book. Yeah. So
Hmm.
it's my heart. It is my first book I ever wrote. My dad, I told my dad I was going to write a book in 2009 and never did it until now. And so it means everything to me. And it's my way of spreading joy. So that was my first way. Coaching's my second way. So if you want to get with me, I am on Instagram. You could find me at The Pursuit to Happy. You hear me say it, The Pursuit to Happy. We're pursuing our inner happiness
Hmm.
on Instagram.
Hmm.
And click the link in my bio. If you click the link in my bio, you can book a discovery call with me. First call, 30 minutes, absolutely free. Absolutely free. I will tell you
Mm,
what your passion is. You can walk away with it and do what you want with it. I'm here for you. I'm here for that. You can even ask me questions. I'm here for you. But
mm.
if you want the whole program, the whole meat and potatoes, honey, I can do that too. I do a full breakdown of telling you what your passion is, and then we make it something soul aligned. It'll be something that your heart feels happy to do. Your heart sings when you think about it. It'll be something that takes you to the next level. Did
Oh
you
my
hear
goodness.
that?
Yay! When we do like the Anchor and Spotify and all the podcasts, I always hear myself going, yay! And I always say I need to stop doing that, but I still do it because I get so excited. I get so excited when I
You're
see
so cute.
people working within their purpose and their passion, and they're really connected to themselves
Oh
and
yeah.
connected to what they are trying to deliver to the world.
Yeah.
So I wish you the best. I wish
Oh
you success with everything you do.
yeah.
And I think you're an awesome person whose truth is really the meat of what you are doing, like the meat, the potatoes, all of that.
It is.
And um, I can't wait to talk to you again. Thank you
Oh, we
so
gotta
much.
talk again.
We do, we
love
do.
You
Oh
crack
my
me up,
gosh.
girl. You crack me all the way
This is
up.
gonna be the most animated anyone's seen my face. I'm trying to work on that because people are like, you're so, you're kind of monotone and don't you want to be likable? And I'm like, no, I'm not really trying to be liked.
That's not what I'm trying to do.
Not
I'm
really.
trying to pass
That's
a
not my
message to
thing.
people.
I'm trying to pass a message. Yes, yes.
Even
But
in my
they
Barry
can't
White
say,
voice, right?
in my Barry White voice. They can't say they've never seen me animated because you've totally animated me with your passion. It's infectious. It's contagious. I love it. Makes me feel good about what I do.
Oh, you're
Makes me
doing
feel
an amazing
good.
job, Lisa.
Thank you. Makes me feel good about what you do. And I can't wait to talk to you again. You have been listening to another episode of Let's Talk About It with my special guest, Miss Jacquelyn Vasquez, who we've just talked about it. We've talked about a lot. I'm your host, Denise, and I can't wait to talk to you. Take care of yourself and each other. Bye. Whee! Oh, that was so good. Oh my gosh.
So good.
So great. You're so
Your
great.
questions
That
were
was so good.
fantastic.
That was so, and I never like write questions down before because I just don't want to get into that mindset where the interview is already carved out because I never know like what you're going to say and I want to be able to like jump on that. And you're just, because you're so authentic, it's not like, let me think about it. You're like, girl, this is my life. Where do you want to go?
Right. Where you want me to start?
Chapter 1, table of context, index, like where? Forward, page 65. I'm ready. Let's go.
You've been listening to the podcast, Let's Talk About It. Feel free to support our podcast by selecting the sponsorship link on this platform. Drop us a line or even be one of our guests. Visit us on the web at www.imdenise.com to learn more.